Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. All right, we're going to get right into some things here to help you with your retirement. This is the kind of things that I cover in my book, 7 Steps to Financial Freedom in Retirement. We're going to give a little update here. All right, so let's start. I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt, one of my favorite quotes, in fact, that said, learn from the mistakes of others, all right, because you can't live long enough to make them all yourself. And this is what we're talking about. It's about learning from the past, isn't it, too? I mean, looking at what has happened that has changed, all right? So one of the things is what our parents or our grandparents maybe had larger pensions. They didn't, in Social Security and savings that they rarely even touched. And they were able to live because they were able to live on that larger pension and Social Security at that time, all right? Well, that's changed. 25 years ago, when I was working with clients at that time that were retired in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s, that was the case. That's the way that worked for them. All right, so we were just looking at, well, how do I how do I invest and save my money in such a way to keep it safe? But it's probably going to go to the kids, and maybe help the grandkids, do some things like that. But I don't really need that money to live on. Okay, that was then, and this is what's changed. Starting historical perspective, we can get this slide up. This is changing from the defined benefit plan, if you will, to defined contribution plans. What that means, a defined benefit plan is a pension. A defined contribution plan we're very familiar with, right? Those are our 401ks, 403bs if you have those for nonprofits and teachers, 457s are for certain government employees, TSP, Thrift Savings Plan for federal employees in the military. So these are all types of retirement accounts, and of course IRAs and both traditional and Roth. So basically when it started to change was in the 70s with the passage of the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, known as ERISA, in 1974. That's what first created IRAs. It allowed for a tax-deferred retirement account for people to save on a tax-deferred basis. Now it's interesting too, back then, by the way, if you were making, say, $50,000 a year, your tax bracket was like 49%. So taxes were quite high, and an ability to save on a tax-deferred basis was very attractive. Now, the Revenue Act of 1978, all right, that's what established 401ks. Now, it wasn't until actually the early 80s that they started to be implemented, and then more and more companies started to add on these company plans. And that's what, at the same time, we also, back in the mid-'80s, they had a big change in federal employees. We went from the Civil Service Retirement System, CSRS, to the Federal Employment Retirement System, what is known as FERS. And at that time, now, those CSRS employees had much larger pensions. They did not contribute to Social Security, so they weren't having to pay in that 7.65 that we have to pay in. But that 7.65% of our pay goes to Social Security and Medicare. They didn't have to make those contributions as they were in a different system. That changed in 1986. It was a couple of years where it phased out one and phased in the other. And now under the FERS program, they get a much smaller pension. They pay in, by the way, for that pension. They have to contribute to get it. And in addition, they also are now contributing to Social Security, so they qualify for Social Security as well. So they're paying into both systems, but they get, again, their FERS pension is probably about 20 to 30%, depending on how many years of service that they have of their regular pay. All right, so think about that for a second. 20 to 30% for those that have a pension. It shows, again, the pensions basically have either been phased out or greatly reduced since starting in the mid-'70s to mid-'80s, making it more and more of that responsibility to fall on the individual. So some of it is mandatory. We have to pay into Social Security, right? They take that right out of our checks. If you're self-employed, you're paying 15.3%, right? Self-employment tax, because you're paying the 7.65 for the employee as well as the 7.65 for the employer contribution. So you've got both together, a big tax. Now, if you're making, if you're up in say a 28 or 33% bracket, add 15% to that, you can see where all of a sudden you could be you could be paying for self-employed individual making a decent living. You could be paying 50% in taxes. All right, not something we want to be not a great thing to be thinking about, right? So minimizing taxes, probably an important thing to do, and how you save for retirement is one way that you can do that. All right, so one of the things, again, that we're going to get into is showing on these smaller pensions, Social Security, even together, how much money is that going to be. But we're going to take a little closer look, too, at some other things that were going on at that time. First, though, we're going to go to the phone, and this is, whoops, I hit the wrong button. Sorry. There we go. Taylor, did I get you right this time?
You did, sir. And
how do you do?
Mr. Perry, I want to thank you and Dr. Friday when she's on with you.
One of my favorites.
From a very valuable service, too.
Thank you.
Those of us sitting and watching. I have a question I hope you can answer. I have some individual stocks, but more in mutual funds, spread over several funds.
Right.
And I'd like to know if you can recommend a particular computer program that one can put their portfolio in and have a running account that's real time, that one can look at once a month or so.
Yeah.
Now, there are a couple I know of, like Yahoo has one. You can get a daily price, but it doesn't do any kind of running feature. So I don't know if that's something you'd. I know there's plenty of them out there that you can pay for, but I was hoping to find a pretty decent one that has no charge. If you can.
So you're looking for a program that's going to allow you to get more up-to-date data for the purpose of trading?
Well, not for the purpose of trading, although that might be somewhat helpful, but I'm just really looking for a screen that will show that day's price, and even better if you could plug in the number of shares you have of each one, and either multiply it yourself, or even better if the program multiplied it out for you. Did I explain that well enough?
Yeah, here's one of the things I do, Taylor. I'm not as far as active management or doing a lot of trading, I don't typically, I know E-Trade and TD Ameritrade, and there are a lot of online services that you can use for that. I typically work with, in the kind of portfolios I do, I'm more of a passive investment person, meaning I'm looking basically based on the science and the research, the academic research is out there. We have statistics, we have things that show us now what works as far as investing. And that's about passive investing, it's about indexing. This is how Vanguard basically got its start, and unfortunately, as their founder, John Bogle, has even said, they got away from that when they started using actively managed funds and went, you heard me earlier talking about the importance of a fiduciary. Well, that's where that fiduciary role comes in again. And when you went from indexing and passive investing to actively managed funds, went from a fiduciary, as John Bogle said, to that of a salesperson, okay, about selling the latest, greatest thing. And that's the danger of getting into that kind of tracking. So what you're looking at is more, I would get back to that asset allocation model and look at some new indices that are available now that are adding some added benefit. And I'm going to talk about them later in the show to help reduce correlation in assets. And that's what we're looking with, that negative correlation, so that over time, good times or bad, you're going to do well.
Very good. I might say John Bogle is one of my all-time heroes in the business, and so thank you very much, Hank.
Sure thing, Taylor. Good luck. Take care. All right, and then we have another caller, and this is Ann. Ann, welcome to the Retirement Report.
Hello, how are you?
Very good. How can I help today?
I have a problem. I had some investments in 401k. I can't find them. I gave them my Social Security number, and I'm trying to find out how you go about finding your investments.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, so you're not getting any statements or anything?
No, I'm not. I have got statements since like 2000. It's through, the latest ones was through Guild Industries in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Right.
I worked there for 3 years.
Okay.
But I did not relinquish my stock investments or my 401k. I called because I needed some money out of it, and they tell me I need a lawyer. Why would I need a lawyer? I've been a victim of an extortion ring.
Well, I don't know as far as Gibbs. I'm not familiar with them, the company I mean. But the company, is the company still in business?
Yeah, it was through Prudential, but they switched to somebody else.
All right, Prudential would just be the custodian of the funds. The company itself, unless it went through, if it went through bankruptcy, that could create a problem with regard to certain benefits, but your 401k should still be protected. Understand there's usually a vesting time as well, which means that you have to be with a company. Typically it is 3 to 5 years. Now your money that you invest in that 401k is always yours, and you can move that into an IRA. You can do whatever you want with it, including cashing it out. Understand that there are certain taxes, and if you're under age 59 and a half, there may even be tax penalties. The other part of it is that with regard to the 401k, if the employer was making matching contributions, that's where the vesting comes in. If you're there, you have to be there for a certain amount of years to be able to take the employer money that they put in as well, and that's something you'd need to check on. What I would suggest that you, rather than an attorney, I don't even know how much money's involved, but what I would, if it's only over a few years period, you would probably better serve to go to the State of Tennessee Securities Division and talk to them.
Okay, State of Tennessee Securities.
Yep, State of Tennessee Security. It's a Department of Insurance and Banking, and it's the Tennessee Securities Division. And if there's any funny business going on, that is those are the people that can really help you. And believe me, they will be aggressive in doing so. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Good luck, Ann. All right. Now, we're going to get, when we come back, one of the things I want to talk about is going back to, again, what was going on in the 70s and 80s. These are things that, but when you understand this transition, of what has happened, how the way we have to save for retirement, the way we have to, in fact, prepare ourselves for retirement, it's to arm you with the facts of what, in fact, you're going to be facing in retirement. It's to take a look at your financial future and let you see what's coming so that you can do things now that can have a tremendous impact later in helping you again to maintain your standard of living and as long as you might live. All right, so we're going to talk some more about that and then get into some things that you can do today, all right, to help correct these situations. If you've got some issues out there, I'm going to show you how to fix those, all right? So join us here. We're going to be right back on the Retirement Report.